Greetings to one and all present. The topic of our study is integration of blue-green infrastructure in statutory planning framework of a hill city, a case of Dehradun. The contents of the presentation will be as follows. First of all, the introduction, aim of the study, a brief description of the study area, the methodology incorporated, field observation, barriers and challenges, and then we'll be discussing possible solutions. The problem that we are discussing today is urban flooding, which is exhibiting a worrying upward trend on a global scale. Flooding leads to a plethora of issues including property damage, health hazards, and disruption of services. Two major factors which are contributing to urban flooding are climate change, which leads to extreme rainfall events, and urbanization, which leads to decline in blue-green infrastructure. Blue-green infrastructure, also known as BGI, can be defined as an integrated network of natural, adopted, or man-made blue and green spaces in an urban context to mimic natural hydrological processes. Several Indian cities have seen a decline in green and blue features due to rapid urbanization. This particular graph represents anticipated and experienced loss in blue and green spaces of major Indian cities over the years. Coming to the aim of the study, which is to integrate blue-green infrastructure in statutory planning framework of Dehradun for climate risk resilience, which will be achieved by first identification of barrier and challenges and second by proposal of strategies.
So talking about the study area, Dehradun. So Dehradun is the winter capital of Uttarakhand state of India. Dehradun is located in a valley at the foothills of Himalayas. Dehradun is the most populous city in Uttarakhand, experiencing an unprecedented speed of urban sprawl. Urbanization in Dehradun has led to the encroachment and deterioration of its blue-green infrastructure, which includes rivers, streams, lakes, parks, and forest.
These three images represent the transition of urban structure of Dehradun from the year 2000 to 2019, showing a decline in blue-green spaces and an increase in urban build-up. To the research methodology, a qualitative research was conducted in Dehradun city to develop an understanding of first, current infrastructure condition of Dehradun, second, major barrier and challenges to implementation of PGI projects in Dehradun, and third, possible solution and strategies to overcome these barrier and challenges. These targets were achieved by field survey and expert consultation with various professionals from different development departments of Dehradun. Now we'll be discussing a list of issues which were identified during field survey of Dehradun. So the first issue identified was deficiency of green infrastructure in residential and commercial developments of Dehradun, which leads to increased rainwater runoff contributing to the severity of urban flooding events. Another issue which was identified was that many residences within the wards of Dehradun depend on narrow lanes for access to their property. Majorly, these lanes consist of impervious surfaces like concrete and asphalt and lack any type of drainage infrastructure. The issue which was identified was inadequacy and vulnerability of the existing drainage infrastructure, which limits the water handling capacity of grey infrastructure. Encroachment of stormwater drains is another major issue, which effectively reduces the capacity of the drains to handle water flow, leading to backups and overflows during heavy rainfall events. Another major issue was disposal of solid waste in rivers, which disrupts natural water flow and leads to inundation of surrounding area. The issue of lack of sufficient public green spaces indicate decline in water absorbent surfaces, which leads to increased rainwater runoff. The last major issue identified during field observation was encroachment and illegal settlements along the river banks, which exposes them to health hazard, property damage, and degraded lifestyle while also contributing to declining water handling capacity of river through encroachment.
Now, some of the barriers and challenges that were identified through expert consultation are
Some institutional and governance barriers identified were lack of clear leadership, lack of clear distribution of role and responsibilities, lack of interagency and interinstitutional cooperation, competing priorities, lack of long-term vision and monitoring, lack of strict legislation and regulation, and underutilization of climate change science in policy development. Some socio-culture barrier and challenges identified were resistance to change, poor societal perception of blue-green infrastructure, and favoritism towards alternate future land use. Other barriers and challenges related to knowledge identified were lack of knowledge about blue-green infrastructure and lack of successful stories. Some technical and biophysical barriers and challenges identified were on-site limitations, design challenges, and maintenance and performance challenges. In terms of funding, we have lack of funding, linking providers and users, and negative response to new charges. Now we'll be discussing some possible solutions identified during expert consultation to overcome above mentioned barriers and challenges. In terms of institutional framework and program implementation, some of the possible solutions are establishment of a program dedicated to implementation of blue-green infrastructure and establishment of nodal agency dedicated to implementation of our program. Then in terms of integration with existing programs and policies, we can have integration of the concept of BGI with housing programs like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, integration with Smart City Mission, and integration with town planning scheme. In terms of regulatory measures and long-term vision, we propose amendment in Uttarakhand Urban and Country Planning Act 1973 to incorporate the concept of blue-green infrastructure. For master plan integration, we propose additional chapter dedicated to BGI and a new land use category, along with establishment of a long-term vision in Dehradun master plan. In terms of financial resources, we propose budget allocation specially dedicated to BGI and revenue generating blue-green infrastructure projects, along with execution of those projects via public-private partnership. In terms of technology and innovation, we propose the formation of research and development wing along with collaboration with research institutes to stay updated on latest technologies and materials. For enforcement and monitoring, there should be a clear division of roles and responsibilities, and a biennially renewable green certification system can also be proposed. For community engagement and capacity building, we propose community awareness workshops and engagement in decision making. We also propose integration in academic curriculum along with capacity building of staff. In terms of land management and rehabilitation, we propose a blue-green corridor along Rispana and Bindal River and creation of land bank inventory to stay updated on the amount and location of land available for future BGI projects. We also propose relocation and rehabilitation of slum dwellers from flood-prone zone. Some possible solution in terms of development control regulations can be compulsory green strip along road, mandatory rainwater harvesting system, restriction of disposal of rainwater directly into stormwater drains, and vertical gardens and green roofs. Now talking about the implication of the study, this research presents a significant opportunity to foster collaboration between climate change science, innovation, and applied research. This collaborative approach will be instrumental for practical integration and implementation of these concepts within the framework of urban planning and development.